In the midst of the mercurial trade discourse, India finds itself at a unique crossroads, with shifting market dynamics presenting both challenges and opportunities. Our response has been of strategic recalibration, like lowering tariffs, reinforcing trade partnerships with key global players such as the United States, Europe, and of course the Middle East. Yes, and it is because of this very shift that India is not just a passive participant, but rather a contender. Well, to shed light on how Bharat plans to up the ante with strategic policies is our next speaker, who can give us an incisive view on the government's take on how India is now navigating through the global trade war. So please, with a big round of applause, let's welcome the Honourable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Shri Piyush Goyal ji. Big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Well, there you have it, the Honourable Minister there, and I'm also going to be requesting Navika Kumar to felicitate and welcome the Honourable Minister. A bigger round of applause, surely we can do that. Well, the Honourable Minister, Piyush Goyal ji, has a lot on his plate, so without much ado, let's bring in a token of our appreciation. Navika, please, could you felicitate him? I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you very much, Meghna, and thank you very much, Mr. Piyush Goyal, Union Commerce Industry Minister, with us this evening. And the question on everybody's mind, pehle hota tha March 31st to register taxes, profits. These days, March 31st is gone and April 2nd has become the headline. Mr. Piyush Goyal, it would be amiss if I don't begin this interview by asking you, the American team is here. What's going to happen on the 2nd of April? Tariff, 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 tariff is the most used word on internet right now.
2nd April, we have Parliament in session. We'll all be busy in Parliament. And after Parliament gets over, we'll have our regular meetings. We have public representatives. We'll be represented our point of view both in Parliament and outside, and making sure that Viksit Bharat is a reality and working towards our mission, our collective goal, protecting India's interests and working to make every citizen's life better and better in the years to come.
But as I said, and I'm not joking when I say that tariff is the most often used word on internet, is there something that would worry you at this stage on the eve of the deadline that has been given by the American president?
I don't...
or should I just ask you, ke sab control mein hai?
Well, I think trade negotiations are going on for a bilateral trade agreement. It's a matter that's known to everybody ever since we saw the joint press conference with President Trump and Prime Minister Modi both announcing the beginning or the start of negotiations to be concluded by fall 2025 for a mutually beneficial, balanced bilateral trade agreement. And the discussions are ongoing. They're progressing well and will be for the good of both the United States and India. I am in regular and constant dialogue with industry from every section of industry, from different organizations related to agriculture exports, different organizations related to engineering, electronic, textiles, various interest groups are in regular dialogue with the government, and all are very excited about a potential bilateral trade agreement with the United States.
This is when a minister uses a lot of words, and says nothing in the answer that he gives, it's very clear that you're not in a mood to give out the details of the negotiations. And I get your point, and I get where you're coming from, Mr. Piyush Goyal. So let me ask you, the theme of the Times Now Summit this year, as we enter our 20th year, is keeping Bharat ahead. And that's an agenda that the Prime Minister and the entire team has been working on. I want to ask you, what's the blueprint for keeping Bharat ahead, and how do you look at that blueprint and convert it into action and reality?
To make India a developed nation, Viksit Bharat, by 2047, we are targeting that the Indian GDP, our economy size, should grow by about 8 times by 2047. We are at about $4 trillion now. Our expectation is that by 2047, India will be a $35 trillion economy. Estimates peg it at about $32 trillion. In order to achieve that, there were 3 important pillars on which Prime Minister Narendra Modi over the last 11 years has dedicated his entire day and night, his 24-hour effort. One was to strengthen the macroeconomic condition of India. Every fundamental of the economy has been strengthened in the last 11 years. Second was to look at inclusive and sustainable growth so that the person at the bottom of the pyramid, the marginalized sections of societies, जो देश के गरीब हैं, पीड़ित हैं, वंचित हैं, शोषित हैं, उन सभी को आगे देश में अपना भविष्य भी उज्जवल दिखे, बड़ी आशा, अपेक्षा और आकांक्षा के साथ वो आगे काम करें, उनके बच्चों को एक उज्जवल भविष्य मिले, उस दिशा में, towards inclusive growth, this government has dedicated its 11 years. And third, we are today the world's fastest growing economy. That rests on 2 pillars: public welfare, which has led to substantially increased consumer demand. So we are looking at consumption-led growth, and infrastructure focus, where we are spending huge amounts of money, both in the public sector and private sector, for investment-led growth. And when a nation is combining both investment and consumption-led growth, we naturally become the envy of the world. We become an attractive place to invest in. We become an attractive country to trade with. And today that is the situation in which we are engaging with the developed nations of the world. If India wants to become a developed nation, we can only aspire for that when we engage with the world, with the developed world, from a position of strength, with self-confidence. It cannot happen if we continue to have the old mindset inherited from years of Congress misrule, the old socialist mindset which really kept India away from world markets, the old thinking where rent-seeking and corruption was the order of the day, the style of working where government would control the factors of production. I think Prime Minister Modi has truly developed the Indian mindset, whether it's the Make in India program, whether it's Atmanirbhar Bharat program, whether it's the Startup India vision, whether it's promoting innovation, research and development, whether it's taking digital connectivity to the last man at the remotest corner of India, whether it's our effort to bring down logistics costs to PM Gati Shakti, and the massive growth in our infrastructure spending, all of these collectively is the recipe which is navigating the India growth story towards greater heights, and global trade will be also an integral part of our journey towards Viksit Bharat.
Mr. Piyush Goyal, when you continue in your 11th year in Modi 3.0, when you continue to lament on the missed buses during the Congress regime. Many people, critics of your party, your government, ask the question, how long will you continue to blame the past and the Congress for it? Isn't it time you set up your own benchmarks?
Blame ki baat nahi hai. This is about reality. I think those who don't learn lessons from history do so at their own peril. And it is important that, and particularly when we have a large section of the millennia population who does not remember, does not know much about what it was like before 2014, what it is like to have a government ridden with lakhs of crores of scandals tumbling out of the closet every month, what it is like to have a country which has reconciled itself to a nominal 4-5% Hindu rate of growth, what it is like to have double-digit inflation for years on end, what it is like to live in a country where your fundamental rights and freedoms are snatched away. I'm talking about the emergency. Now, all of these are lessons of history, which is important for the next generation also to learn from. Just today in Parliament, there was a bill that we had, that Honourable Home Minister had introduced, in which the DMK from Tamil Nadu raised a point about certain provisions of the law and said you are not taking care of the Tamil people who have come and taken shelter in India, Tamil Sharnarthis. The Honourable Home Minister said, but I have not changed the law at all from what prevailed when you were in government 10 years ago, 11 years ago. That same provision continues today. And we thought you were in government, you must have protected the interests of the Tamil people. To which Honourable Member of Parliament, former Union Minister, Mr. T.R. Balu says, if that was wrong, you could have corrected it. So Honourable Home Minister very rightly said, thank God at least you now realize how wrong all your policies and all your laws were. And give us a proposal. Then he also pointed out, you've met me so many times. You've never once raised the issue of Tamil Sharnarthis or Tamil refugees in India. Suddenly what has happened to you? And even now if you have a proposal, come and meet me. We'll work it out. We'll see what needs to be done. History is very important. We have to learn lessons from history. And any nation that does not respect and recognize these lessons of history can never ever prosper, will always be doomed to suffer, and therefore it's very important that we always keep reminding people about the historical wrongs.
You just reminded our audiences about emergency between 1975 and 77. The opposition...
My mother was in jail during the emergency also.
The opposition says there's an undeclared emergency even today. Rahul Gandhi says as leader of opposition, he has no voice. He doesn't get permission to speak. Now, is that not emergency, he asks?
Well, I'm sure the very erudite audience of Times Now will appreciate that House has to run under certain rules and procedures. Obviously, you cannot have a House where anybody and everybody will all the time keep disturbing the proceedings of the House. We respect the fact that the leader of the opposition has certain rights and privileges. But when a certain particular item of business is going on, every time if the leader of the opposition would disrupt the proceedings of the House, then obviously Speaker will have to take a stand sometime at least. By and large, I think the very fact that he is in a position to speak his mind,
outside Parliament, not inside.
No, even inside the House. Haven't you heard of all the gaffes that he has made inside the House? All the ridiculous statements that have been made inside the House. हमारे लिए तो it suits us. The more he speaks is music to our ears. He is our best campaigner. So हमारी तरफ से कोई रोक नहीं है. जितना बोले उनको स्वागत है. हम तो चाहते हैं वो और बात करें. In the House, outside the House, ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी में जाके जिधर जाके बोलना है उनको बोले. बट दुर्भाग्य ये है कि देश को बड़ा नुकसान होता है उससे.
Mr. Piyush Goyal, let me also ask you about freedom of speech. You said after the emergency, people should know that freedom of speech is a very important right. What happens to the freedom of speech? And you come from Mumbai, so I'm asking you this question. What happens to the freedom of speech of a stand-up comedian if he takes political potshots at individuals?
Well, I think taking political potshots and alleging things like a traitor to a constitutional authority are two different things. Nowhere in the world can any legal system, particularly in a democracy, be allowed to function in a manner where even constitutional authorities are called traitor in a public program. Now look at
Your entire
look
Maharashtra
at the
election.
comedy that you see even in America today, where there's so much happening. Even I watch so many shows, even in the United States of America. People may take pot shots, and in India, you take pot shots on us all the time. But I don't think calling a high constitutional authority a traitor falls within the freedom of expression and speech. I'm sure you are...
Your entire Maharashtra campaign from both sides was about Gaddari. You said to Uddhav Thackeray that he was a Gaddar who went out of the BJP alliance. Uddhav Thackeray called the Shiv Sena on your side as the Gaddar. It was
The
throughout the politics.
Asli Shiv Sena, you mean?
You call it Asli, they don't, so...
तो जनता ने फैसला सुना दिया है ना असली
But I'm saying Gaddari was the theme of the campaign. How can that word become unconstitutional because a comedian says it?
Don't think any of us has used the word Gaddar for high constitutional authorities. I suspect we would have attacked each other politically. We would have certainly raised political issues. We do feel we were stabbed in the back by the Uddhav Thackeray faction, despite having won the 2019 election
उसको क्या कहते हैं हिंदी में?
together. But we have
उसमें
never.
उसको क्या कहते
But
हैं?
we have never said that.
गद्दार नहीं था.
Because that really is a word that has seditious tendencies or seditious meanings.
It's not a banned word.
Well, there's so many words which are not banned.
Backstabber को क्या बोलते हैं हिंदी में?
नहीं, मुझे हिंदी में बोलते हैं जिन्होंने हमें हमारे साथ धोखा किया.
धोखेबाज is better than गद्दार.
That is a much more serious word. हिंदी की डिक्शनरी को गूगल कर लीजिए, दोनों में आपको जमीन आसमान
Are you saying धोखेबाज is better than गद्दार? Comedians can use धोखेबाज.
राजनीतिक ईमानदारी उन्होंने जो नहीं दिखाई, वो एक परिप्रेक्ष्य है, और जिस प्रकार का शब्दावली इस्तेमाल की गई है और उसके ऊपर जो स्वाभाविक रूप से जो आलोचना हुई है, उसका दोनों का मेल नहीं है. I mean, you can try and connect.
Alochna is one thing. I have no problem with criticism, but vandalism, where does that stop? Or just because the vandals are part of a political party, they should be given a free run?
Well, I'm sure the law will take its own course.
बुलडोजर नागपुर में तो आपने भेज दिया, शिव सैनिक पर कब भेजेंगे? असली शिव सैनिक पर
हमने नहीं करना है, वो कानून उसका अपना रास्ता नहीं.
कानून ने तो आज बोला है कि आप बुलडोजर नहीं भेज सकते. बुलडोजर तो परसों चले गए थे.
नहीं, वो अलग विषय था, वो इसका संबंध नहीं है.
नहीं है, पर
वो उन्होंने अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन की थी.
अच्छा.
अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन के ऊपर जिस प्रकार से उद्धव ठाकरे की सरकार ने कार्रवाई की थी अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन पर,
उसी दिन हुई जिस दिन औरंगजेब वाला बवाल हुआ. उसी दिन यू डिस्कवर्ड अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन. मिस्टर पीयूष गोयल,
हम तभी कभी गए नहीं है उस तरफ. वो तो कानून के लोग,
आप नागपुर नहीं गए?
अथॉरिटी के लोग हैं, वही गए होंगे.
आप नागपुर नहीं गए?
नागपुर तो हमारा जीवनी है वहां पर.
तो फिर नागपुर में इतनी अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रही थी, आपको पता ही नहीं चला?
अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन तो मेरे भी एरिया में मलाड में एक एमएलए कर रहा है, उस पे भी हम अथॉरिटीज के साथ लगे हुए हैं. वहाँ पे
अलायंस पार्टी से है कि ऑपोजिशन से?
जिस भी पार्टी से है, जो कर रहा है मिस्टर असलम शेख, उसके एरिया में कार्रवाई
तो
करवा रहे
बुलडोजर
हैं.
चलेगा.
उसके एरिया में हम कार्रवाई करवा रहे हैं।
हाँ, तो असलम शेख है तो बुलडोजर चलेगा। दिस इज व्हाई
जो भी अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन करेगा उधर हम कार्रवाई
इसीलिए तो वो AIM PLB और सारी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज अब खड़ी हो गई हैं और कह रही हैं आप मुसलमानों को दबा रहे हैं, ये वक्फ रिफॉर्म्स जो आप कर रहे हैं।
देखिए, पहली बात तो सब लोग के ध्यान में आए इसके लिए मैं बताऊं कि वक्फ और वक्फ बोर्ड दो अलग अलग चीजें हैं। वक्फ बोर्ड इज ओनली एडमिनिस्ट्रिंग द वेरियस ट्रस्ट दैट पीपल हैव मेड। जो ट्रस्ट कोई मुस्लिम व्यक्ति बनाता है फॉर हिज प्रॉपर्टीज, उसको वक्फ कहते हैं, वो ट्रस्ट है। और जो वक्फ बोर्ड है वो एक प्रकार से चैरिटी कमिश्नर का काम करता है। जो काम चैरिटी कमिश्नर करता है उसी प्रकार से वक्फ बोर्ड इन सब ट्रस्ट को एडमिनिस्टर करता है। तो मुझे लगता है ट्रस्ट की एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में सुधार लाना, ये मांग मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी से ही उठी थी, क्योंकि कई लोगों की प्रॉपर्टी अनाप शनाप तरीके से लोगों ने कब्जा कर लिया था। 2013 के कानून में तो दिल्ली की कई सारी प्रॉपर्टीज को हड़पने के लिए इस्तेमाल किया गया था, वक्फ बोर्ड को मिसयूज किया गया था। और मैं समझता हूं कि एक प्रकार से बहुत राहत मिलेगी हजारों लोगों को जिनके साथ अन्याय हुआ है। और ये सिर्फ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, इसमें कोई भी मुस्लिम व्यक्ति के ऊपर या मुस्लिम व्यक्ति के कारोबार में या उनके कामकाज में या उनके दिनचर्या में किसी भी प्रकार का दखल अंदाजी नहीं है। पर वक्फ बोर्ड का काम है, जो वक्फ बने हैं, जो ट्रस्ट बने हैं, वो ठीक से एडमिनिस्टर हो, उतना काम वक्फ बोर्ड करता है।
So Waqf bill will be amended on one side and Saugate Modi will be sent on the other side.
Will be sent?
Saugate Modi, the Eid gift.
नहीं, वो तो बड़े अच्छी खुशखबरी है कि ईद पे हमारे मुस्लिम भाई बहनों को, हमारे जो कार्यकर्ता है उन सबको हम ईदी भेज रहे हैं। तो
सिर्फ कार्यकर्ताओं को तो नहीं है, वो कह रहे हैं कि गरीब मुस्लिम। होली पर तो कुछ नहीं भेजा आपने गरीब हिंदुओं को।
चलिए अगले साल आपको होली पे,
दिवाली आने वाली है, दिवाली पे भी
रंग के त्योहार पे आपको रंग
दिवाली भी आने वाली है, दिवाली की मिठाई।
देखिए, पर्सनली जहां तक मैंने अभी आपने दिया, मैंने आपको भी बताया कि मैं छोड़ के जाने वाला हूं, मैं कोई लेता नहीं हूं गिफ्ट। तो मेरे बारे में तो आपको मालूम है, नाइदर डू आई गिव अ गिफ्ट नॉर डू आई एक्सेप्ट एनी गिफ्ट फ्रॉम एनीबॉडी। वो हमने 13 साल पहले निर्णय ले लिया था, कोई लेना नहीं है किसी से, देना नहीं,
ना लेना ना देना,
ना लेना ना देना।
और दिवाली का मतलब इसी में आपने रफा दफा कर दिया।
इससे आपको भी हमको दिवाली पे भेजते नहीं है।
नहीं, this is about the messaging and I'm asking you about the messaging because social harmony has a very direct linkage with the development of a country, with the growth of the economy, and many people, you talk about the professional class. They say, in our society, there is too much of conversation on Hindu-Muslim. As the Commerce and Industry Minister, does this worry you or is this a political compulsion?
मुझे लगता है कि I personally think that there's a very small section of people who are making this narrative a centerpiece of attention. The country is peace-loving. I don't think anywhere in the country today there is any discord. The minorities in India are respected the most compared to any other part of the world. I think every minority in India gets respect. Every minority in India has equal opportunity. But if a certain small section of society tries to glorify that the tomb of Aurangzeb, for example, is something that they're going to glorify or to make it larger than life, then there will be a reaction, counter-reaction. So I think it's important that we all maintain peace and harmony, but certainly nobody has the business of glorifying invaders in this country, of celebrating a cricket match that we lose and somebody else wins, just on the basis of religion. Jitna tolerant as Indians are, I don't think you will find any other part of the world that level of tolerance.
Mr. Piyush Goyal, I also want to ask you, are you satisfied with the pace of growth that you see in terms of investment, in terms of the GDP, and in terms of the various efforts that you're making in the direction of manufacturing to make India an alternative to China?
Prime Minister Modi has always taught us never to be satisfied and always to be aspirational for bigger and bigger targets and bigger goals. So while our Indian economy has grown from the 10th or 11th largest to the 5th largest already, and in the next 2.5, 3 years will become the world's 3rd largest economy, something which Mr. Chidambaram had said will take 30 years, we will be doing in 13 years. Look at the drastic difference. What we inherited from Mr. Chidambaram and Manmohan Singh, the UPA government, a fragile economy, fragile five, one of the 5 weakest economies in the world. In 10 years, we've converted to the top 5 economies of the world. What we had inherited as low growth, high inflation, low foreign exchange reserves, hardly any confidence in the economy, low foreign investment, low private sector investments, a broken banking system, all of that has changed the perception of the world towards India, the desire of the world to trade and invest in India, the confidence that the Indian people have today, which is demonstrated in the way we have become the world's fastest growing economy, the fact that our forex reserves are at record levels amongst the top 4 or 5 in the world, the fact that our growth is high, our inflation is low, our passport today in the world carries more respect than ever before. All of these are a matter of satisfaction. But should we rest on our laurels? Prime Minister Modi never allows us to do that. He always wants us to look for more and more work, to aspire for a much faster pace of growth, aspire to attract more investments, aspire for a better quality of life for every Indian, do steps for ease of doing business, ensure that innovation gets space in India, startups get space in India, manufacturing grows faster. So it's going to be a continuous journey of growth. And in that, we will perpetually be in a state of greater aspirations and permanently dissatisfaction with what we've achieved, so that we can spur even more effort. Prime Minister Modi had said when the people of India elected him for the 3rd time, and a record 3rd time, only paralleled by what Jawaharlal Nehru ji had got, that he will work with 3 times more speed, he'll put in 3 times more effort, the work that he will do will have 3 times more impact on the lives of the people of India. And that's what is driving all of us to do more work.
Always very good with words. Before I let you go, Mr. Piyush Goyal, one last question. Should we tie our seat belts? Are we expecting turbulence on 2nd of April, or do you think it's going to be a smooth flight for India?
Well, for that you will have to either consult an astrologer or look up the chronicles of Nostradamus. I am neither an astrologer nor do I believe in it, but I can only tell you one thing. We have the courage of conviction to say that the India growth story will be intact. India will continue to power global economy. India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi will continue to steer its economy with our motto of India first. And we are very, very committed and confident that we will take India in the Amrit Kal to become a global superpower. Viksit Bharat is our collective commitment of 1.4 billion Indians. ये 140 करोड़ लोगों का संकल्प है भारत को विकसित भारत बनाना 2047 तक, और इसमें बाधाएं कितनी भी आए हम हर बाधा का सामना करेंगे, हर तकलीफ से अच्छा उभरेंगे. Turbulence may come on the flight, but the pilot and the commander has complete control of the situation, and the flight will not only land safely, but will have many, many more journeys of successful growth, of successful flights, and we will reach our destination of Viksit Bharat 2047. Thank you.
Well, on that note, thank you very much, Mr. Piyush Goyal. Big round of applause. Always adept at answering any question.